We've got the 2022 IMMAF African Lightweight Champion, Zimbabwe's own Louis Mataya. How are you doing, Louis Mataya?
I'm well, thanks. How are you doing? Sorry, can I call you Owl Man?
You can call me Owl Man, or you can call me Garmamie. Whatever you like. All good. But I'm doing well. I'm excited to be interviewing you. You've got an incredible story. First and foremost, congratulations on winning the African Lightweight Championship. Tell us, how does it feel to be a champion?
It was like, I want more, Garmamie. That's exactly how it feels. Like, it feels good to be a champion. And it feels good to make progress. That was progress. So I want to make even more progress.
Interesting. What does achieving this accomplishment mean to you personally?
Personally, it affirms that I am right. You know, when you see something like a vision, it's all in your head. And then you decide to pursue that. Okay, I'm going to speak for me. I saw a vision of what I can become. And I decided to go after that. And winning the African Championship was part of the goal that's going to lead me to the big dream. And it now doesn't feel like I'm just chasing after thoughts. It feels like I'm on the right path.
Very interesting, man. I obviously watched your fights, and overall I was very impressed. You know, you bring a lot of energy, very explosive in the octagon, very aggressive and relentless with the attacks, you know, from the striking and the groundwork, of course, and the trips, the takedowns, the throws, you know, very well-rounded, very unpredictable and entertaining and passionate as a fighter. So I mean, there you go. You know what I'm saying? Like I think you keep on to your vision, and obviously it will manifest. You fought and beat 3 uniquely tough competitors. Can you give us a brief summary of each match, starting with your first opponent, South Africa's Alistair Kunune, who's 25 years old, I believe?
Yes, he is. He's 25. I know quite a lot about him. Was not stalking him. It just popped up on my radar. I may have been stalking him. So, so the first one, Alistair, before going into the championships, I was very concerned about him. I did not want to meet him in the first fight. I wanted to go against him in the finals. I knew it was going to be tough. So in the fight, when that bell went, I told myself, okay, I'm going against, in my mind, the dark horse of the division, the guy that I was worried about. So I had to hit him with everything that I had. And that was the first one. The last round, I decided, I've been striking for 2 rounds. I want to make a statement that there is really nowhere that you guys can get me, you know? So I decided to take him down, control him the whole round, and I hit him with, Jesus, my goodness. I do apologize to his parents, to his training partners and everything for hitting a human being like that. It was necessary. I did not enjoy it, but it needed to be done.
Right.
The second fight, what's his name? Geraldo.
Actually, before we get to that, I just want to go back to Alistair. You mentioned you're familiar with him. Have you sparred with him before? Have you practiced with him before? What can you tell us about him?
Oh man, the theme going into that fight was information is power. So I had to gather as much intel as I could before the fights. So I knew everything about all the guys in the division.
Right.
And yeah. And they thought, okay, he's very unpredictable. We cannot assume what's coming next. But that's because I was working backwards. I saw what they were doing in their previous fights, in their training, and I decided to shut it all down and do my own thing in there.
Can you elaborate on that? What did they see, and how did you go backwards? So just paint that picture for us, please.
Okay, so when you watch someone fight, I've noticed that about myself. People are most likely to do more of what made them win their previous fight, which they were in. So I'll tell you, in my title defense, I hit the guy with a straight left. Like, I had to shuffle in fast. He did not see me. He just saw a blur. And before he knew it, he was waking up, and a few minutes after. So my point is that shot, I tried to do it in the fight. And of course, it failed. No, the other guys, they were trying to do what they did in their previous fights, which I knew they were going to do. And I was shutting it all down and implementing my will on them.
Very interesting. Now, I noticed that your coach for your first two matches was Zambia's Benjamin Bush. He stepped in to corner you for your first two fights, showing some leadership and initiative. What was it like having him as your corner?
It was very... I've known Bush even before the championships. He's from Zambia. And I know you know the story. I did not have a coach because my coach here, he was busy. He had 25 other people competing that weekend in jiu-jitsu. So he had his decision. He could go there with one of me or 25 other students, which it's only fair that he attended that. So there we had to look for a familiar face that would help us in the first two fights. And Bush, bless his soul, he decided to help me, decided to assist us in coaching. And it really did I feel grateful that he had to do that, build me up to the finals. And in the finals, I had to face his student. So thank you to Coach Benjamin Bush of Zambia MMA.
Now, leading into your second match, your second opponent was Namibia's Geraldo Bok, who you beat via TKO. This one was a very interesting match for viewers like myself. Lead us through this match, please.
So, I cannot call him Geraldo. Can I call him Geraldo?
Sure. You call him whatever you want. Is it Geraldo? It's Geraldo? No.
So it's Geraldo, whatever it is, let's call him Mr. B.
Mr. B, sure.
Yes. So Mr. B won his fight by, again, was it a submission or TKO? It was a submission, I think. I'm not too sure. Or I'm pretending to forget so he doesn't know I was stalking him. So, so he won his fight on the ground, in short. And beforehand, he was running around. I've in my training for the past few years, I used to have his fighting style where I was in and out, running out, and that was mainly because Conor McGregor and Israel Adesanya. I was trying to copy those guys, and I was a bit timid of the fight. Like, I was scared of the fight. So instead, I played it safe by moving away and moving. So I knew he was doing the same. I knew he would not like the engagement of someone standing in his face and trying to blast his brains out. So I decided to take that approach, and I could see he did not like that. Like, he did not like me putting him against the fence and staying in his face and just throwing bombs at him. because he did not like it, he shot for a takedown, and biggest mistake of his life.
It certainly was a mistake. You transitioned right into mount and unleashed some very vicious ground and pound. And I must say, I think
that I did enjoy a little bit. It wasn't personal, but I did enjoy it a bit.
Hey, it's all part of the game, of course. It's all part of the competition, I don't doubt. But it's interesting because he was I noticed he was very good with his takedowns, and I don't know much about him, but I believe he must have some serious he must have some sort of wrestling background or judo background or sambo background, because I think he hit 2 takedowns that were very, very slick and well timed. But overall, as you mentioned, you countered his takedown. You read him. You gathered some good intelligence. You countered him, mounted, and ground and pounded. And it was a fantastic finish. His corner was pretty livid. You could hear them in the coaches in his corner getting all amped up as you were grounding and pounding. What did you take away from this match? Because you mentioned being influenced by Conor McGregor and Israel Adesanya. What was the takeaway from this match as you were going into the finals against Zambia's Ken and Niaondo?
That fight with Mr. B, it exposed a weakness in my game, which you mentioned, that takedown. Now, I'm not worried about the ground. I can roll with anyone, as in I can engage in a ground fight with anyone but Khabib. So I'm pretty confident in my ground game, but not there yet where I can say, hey, Khabib, your mama is...
I wouldn't even go there, man. Don't even go there.
Tell you what, if I have a fight, a really bad fight with my girlfriend, and I decide to end my life, then I'll go there.
There you go. That's a good approach. We'll have to, we'll contact Khabib and we'll see if we can make this match happen, if that were to happen. But anyways.
So, as I was saying, I feel confident to engage with anyone on the ground. But that's mainly because I'm always on the offense when it comes to takedowns. So in training, people know that if they want to practice their takedowns at the gym, they practice with me. So we wrestle a lot, and I like attacking. I'm sure you could see the whole fight. I was on the offense. So even on the ground, I like to attack. That means I don't get enough time practicing takedown defense. Mm-hmm. You see that? Mm-hmm. Yes, because I'm always on the offense. So that was the flow that I noticed against Mr. B, which I had to work on immediately for the next fight.
Very interesting that you've identified this flaw, because for the most part, I think people will kind of ignore that in themselves and keep on that same formula of maybe working on their strengths and not refining or improving their overall game. What are your plans as far as augmenting your wrestling and your judo?
I come from a really well-rounded gym where we've got world champions in jiu-jitsu, world champions, and African champions. Me being one of them in jiu-jitsu. So it's a matter of switching the focus in training from, all right, I'm going to attack, to, okay, we're going to lay back a bit and allow the other training partners to attack while I defend. I mean, my offense is always going to be there. I just need to work on my defense. That's all.
Right, you're a very hyper aggressive fighter offensively. Even the commentators were mentioning, with the striking, like very quick, explosive kicks. You really put your opponents in a state of panic, from the get go, and you own the octagon and the space. So it's complete chaos when you're fighting against someone like yourself. But it's very entertaining and very dynamic. And I think for your division, this is the 70.3 kilo, 155 pound division. It's always exciting in the division because you always get very well-rounded fighters, but also explosive, lots of endurance, lots of speed and energy. But I want to speak to you about your style after the next question in regards to your final match against Zambia's Ken Nyaondo, because your style is a very interesting mix. I think I gather from Taekwondo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it's
if you've been stalking me.
I have been, yes. I went back. Hey, come on. I have to, right? I have to. No, I've been reading countless articles that have been written about you, of course, in the lead up to and after the Africa Championship. And it's you've got quite the story. And I must say, the commentators and the media, I think you've really gained fans, not just in the actual, like, within the sport as in fellow competitors, but even folks on the media side are big fans of your positivity and just your enthusiasm. So this is why I want to talk with you, because I find you're an interesting character. You're being framed as the next big thing coming out of African MMA, which I think is huge for the sport continentally, for Southern Africa and for Zimbabwe, of course. Now, your next opponent in the finals was Zambia's Ken Nyaondo, who's 20 years old. And speak to us about him and this match, because I read some quotes where you mentioned you thought this guy was the strongest person you've ever faced with, you ever faced off against. Speak to us about Ken. What's his nickname? What are you calling him? You don't have a nickname for him. Wow. I am so, it's all good, brother. It's all good. Go ahead.
I have no idea how to pronounce it. I think Skeletor.
Wow. For him as his nickname, Skeletor.
The African version, like
wow.
Skeletor.
Dude, that is that's a brilliant nickname and gimmick. I think we need to reach out to him and see what he thinks about that. No, that's excellent. Skeletor.
You know what I think?
What's that?
I think Ken and I need to fight again for his really cool nickname. It's just too cool. It's way too cool. Think about it. Like, what's your name? Skeletor.
It is, man. I'm telling you, dude, I think you have in addition to having a great future in the sport, I think you'd be great in marketing, because you come up with nicknames and you brand and you like for combat sports, for professional wrestling, for cartoons possibly as well. I mean, this is great. Well, we'll have to ask Ken what he thinks about that nickname. But he was strong. I could tell he was very physically strong. He's only 20 years old and he's got a bright future ahead of him. Tell us about this match for the gold medal match.
So usually I like to thin slice, like just make quick judgments, and because I know it's based on the mind gathering intel and pre-existing info that I have, and then make a decision there. When we stayed down, because in the finals was the only time that we were meant to stay down in the ring, I looked at him from head to toe, and I asked myself, how am I going to win this fight? What must I do? What can I do? Where is he weak that I can exploit? There was absolutely nothing. Like
Wow.
usually I look at someone and I'll be like, yeah, you're dead. But him, nothing. He was like Superman. Tell you how I won that fight. If you're going up against Superman, you gotta be Batman, and you need lots and lots of kryptonite. That's all I had for that fight. I had kryptonite. As in, now I'm gonna go into the fight. The first round, I knew Ken was gonna be looking for a takedown. So when he went for the takedown, I did not try to stop him because I knew I would burn up a crazy lot of energy. So I allowed it to happen. When you take me down to the ground, you're in my world. I thought about it when I reversed the takedown because I knew I couldn't stop him from taking me down. So I had to reverse it. I reversed it, and as I was giving him the good old 1-2, I thought, hang on, should I whisper in his ear that, hey dude, welcome to my world? So I thought, nah, let me just. He was a really good wrestler, but my jiu game played a huge role in neutralizing his wrestling. If you're a wrestler, I'm a jiu guy. You take me down, you're putting me to my world. That was the first round. The second round, we danced a bit. I could see he was not keen to go for the takedown. So he stayed again in my other world. His was like this tiny bit much between the stand-up and the ground, which is the wrestling. Mine was the ground, the whole ring, and every bits in between. So that was the plan for that one with Ken. It was just to not engage in the wrestling.
Interesting. And when you look back at the match, what would you say? And there's all three of your matches. I'm sure you've reassessed to see what you could take away from. You mentioned that with Mr. B in the second match. You mentioned some points as well for the first match against Kunene. And I hope I'm pronouncing these gentlemen's names correctly. If not, I'll be using the nicknames you've given me. So
there it is. I gotta be honest with you, dude. Oh man, you're saying those names horribly.
Oh really? Thank you. Correct.
No
Please
offense.
correct me. No. I no, none taken. Please tell me how to pronounce the names correctly. I think that is the right. I need to know. Please educate me.
I'm messing with you. I also am not sure how to pronounce them myself.
Oh man, dude, you had me there for a second. You went into serious mode, but it's sorry. Go ahead.
If you were to hang out with me, oh man, you need to get used to this. That's how it's gonna be. Lots of teasing, playful remarks, because it helps relieve a bit of stress in life, you know.
I bet I could imagine, but I just want to go back to this last match because there's a lot you just said in terms of your opponents wrestling, and I must say, like, all three of your opponents, as I mentioned, they're uniquely tough competitors, and you found the formula, the algorithm, the kryptonite even for each one of these opponents. When you look back at your gold medal match against Zambia's Ken Ondo, what would you say is the one major takeaway for you? If you were to fight him again, what would you do differently against Ken or Skeletor?
Skeletor. So, if you're gonna post a little bit on Instagram, I would suggest you post this part. When you look at my fight name on Instagram, you checked it out. What is it? Sorry, my name.
Your handle, yeah, it's Porcupine.
Porcupine,
yeah.
Porcupine, yes, Porcupine Mataya.
Right.
How much do you know about porcupines? Now I'm interviewing you.
No, this is great. It's funny you asked that because I saw a video last day about a porcupine. Long story short, I was like, wow, they look vicious. They've got they look friendly, but they also look extremely dangerous. So what I can take away from that is if that's your nickname or gimmick or persona, the porcupine, I think a lot of people are going to get stung and stabbed and yeah, yikes.
So the thing with that, it answers all the fights. So the thing with that, the reason why I chose the porcupine is because that's my bloodline's totem in Zimbabwe. So back in the day, in the tribes, all the families had a role in society, in the tribes. Some were leaders, which I can clearly tell you, I am not a leader. I won't call myself a king. I'm a warrior. So our bloodline, our responsibility was to protect the clan. The porcupine is all about defense. Now, we protected from psychological warfare, as in any mental illnesses that people had. That was our duty. Spiritual warfare. We were responsible for protecting the tribe. Physical attacks, as in against other neighboring tribes. We handled that. That was our duty because of our nature. I'm not sure if it's just how God made one human and then his bloodline was passed on, but that's how we are. We're all about solving problems, and even if we have to get violent, we will do it. Now, when you look at a porcupine fighting, can fight against lions, against leopards, all the predators. And even if you attack it from behind, you're in big trouble. If you come head on, you're in big trouble. Sideways, everywhere, everything is guarded. And we don't feel scared to move forward towards an attack, a predator, because we're protected. That's my approach in a fight.
Wow, that is fascinating and fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing that. That's I wasn't expecting that at all, and explains your Instagram handle where people can follow you. Can you tell us your handle, so in case people are, because I'm going to post this clip as a standalone clip as you advised as the marketing advisor. So what is your handle again? Your Instagram handle?
It's Porcupine Mataya.
Right on. And speak to us, if you don't mind, I want to explore this, what you just shared with us. Speak to us about Zimbabwe in terms of its, combat sports culture, because what you're speaking here in terms of tribes is an interesting one. How much of that influences people like yourself who are combat sports athletes and practitioners, this sort of mentality and this warrior spirit, as you described it?
So Zimbabwe, in short, I would describe it as potential. The people, the land, everything is potential, lots and lots of potential that you can mold into anything that you wish to. We're known all over the world because we have immigrated to many countries. We're known for being very, we do anything. Now, this Zimbabwean thing, again, in the tribes, we had roles for everyone. Some were leaders, some warriors, we were everything. Now, my bloodline, I'll tell you about my mother. That woman was the most vicious woman I've ever met. She had eight kids, including myself, and 4 husbands, because she could not keep one. those guys would get beat up bad, dude, and they would run away by my mother. So going back, everyone was just vicious. When we go back to the tribes, you'd find that it was the same thing. We always had to keep fighting. We're fighting against the Zulus, fighting against all the tribes. We were always fighting. So fighting is in us. At the same time, it's not that we enjoy violence. No, we always fight to protect and to build, whether it's to build a tribe or protect the people of the tribe. That's our thing, Zimbabweans. It's all about necessary violence.
Very, very interesting, and all of this fits in, I suppose, really well into the psychology of combat sports athletes having that ability to dig deep and endure so much, in the fight, and having that resilience to move on and to fight. And for you, sir, you just became the 2022 IMMAF African Lightweight Champion. And at the end, when your hand was raised, it's interesting because it went to judge's decision. You won, obviously. And I say obviously as you dominated that match. Your opponent, much respect to him, but you figured out the formula and the approach forward to beat a very, very tough 20-year-old who's only going to get better, over time. But I noticed, your reaction was almost, I don't want to say delayed, but it felt like there was a lot going on when your hand was raised. Obviously, you're holding the flag. What was going through your mind at that moment when you found out that you had won?
First of all, even if it's a clear decision, a unanimous decision, my coach always says, do not leave the fight in the hands of the judges. He always says that. So right there, when the scores were being announced, I thought to myself, hang on, I did not knock him out. I did not choke him out. I did not break his jaw. What are the judges thinking? I mean, I did dominate, but what are the judges thinking? And yeah, I've seen fighters doing that. They raise their hands, so sure that they've won, but actually, they're not sure they've won. They're trying to convince the judges and into thinking that, oh yeah, we did enough. You see that?
Absolutely, yeah.
So I did not want that to happen. That's why I decided to wait until the judges announced, or the judge's decision was announced. Then, of course, I broke down into tears.
It was a very emotional moment, and the visuals, the imagery that's come out of that it's very powerful imagery, and there's so much emotion there, and we're going to, if it's okay with you, we're going to talk about that in a bit, but it was an incredible match overall for anyone who's watching online. It showcased some real talent all across the board in that division and in all divisions as far as amateur MMA in Africa. Now, I'd like to know, tell us about your training. You've got an interesting background in both Taekwondo and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. What's your approach to training? How would you describe yourself as a mixed martial artist? And kind of paint that picture for us.
Okay, a good example here. Funny you had to ask me that. This morning I woke up and I was feeling Iron Man. What I mean by that is I went on YouTube like all 21st century youth do, and I was watching Iron Man videos because I like Iron Man. I was watching when he was upgrading his Mark 1 to the Mark 2 suit. So he had the blueprints stored on Jarvis, and he put them on the table, and kind of like a hologram projector type of vibe. And he was removing the old. Have you watched Iron Man?
I have, yeah.
Yes. How many times? Okay, before you answer, that's gonna decide how much I like you. How many times have you watched Iron Man?
Bro, I think I've watched it once, and I don't know if it was if I was all. I wasn't looking at I wasn't looking at watching it very carefully with details and all that. So I apologize. I'll go back and give it a watch. He's not my.
I will send you a YouTube link of the part that I want you to watch.
Awesome, please do.
The blueprints were there in a 3D holographic. Yeah. That thing. They know what it is. So he was removing parts that he did not need and putting in new parts and spinning it and seeing how efficient it would be. That's my approach to training. I like to take away what doesn't work in my game. I did Taekwondo all the way to second dan black belt. And there were things that I had to throw away, kicks, movements that I had to throw away that were inefficient in the sense that they used a lot more energy, or they would get me in trouble if I missed, or I won't mention what exactly because I know people are going to be stalking me for the next championships by listening to you. So it's kind of your fault, really. Yeah.
No, I totally respect that. You don't want to give away too much, but it's a that analogy you use of Iron Man and getting rid of some functionalities or some capabilities and keeping some and refining his gear is a fascinating one because and it's interesting too because this is my first time ever watching you fight in this tournament. And as I mentioned from the get-go, like the kicks, the confidence in terms of owning one's space when they move forward, you move forward with these kicks that are very flashy yet equally effective and vicious. I think at one point in your second match against Mr. B, speaking about Geraldo Bach from Namibia, I remember at one point you kicked him in the thigh and he almost folded. Like he felt it, and it was such a strong kick that you just chopped him down and kind of established the sort of rhythm to the concert and orchestra of violence which you were unleashing there in South Africa at the IMMAF Africa Championship. And I'm watching this, and in my mind I'm thinking, okay, this guy clearly has a very strong striking. His forte is striking, no doubt. And then I'm watching him take people down. You know what I'm saying? Like transitioning and at the same pace, consistent, the takedowns, fast and furious, right into a very hyper offensive jiu-jitsu game, very confident from the back. We're working from your back for arm juju gatame, arm bar, triangles, very easy, flowing from one thing to another. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is very interesting because having almost, I would say, if I can generalize, almost two very key specializations, which is the striking, the kicks and the hands, of course. But I think that the kicks were the ones that really were so unpredictable for folks because that style, people always criticize some styles and say, oh, that's not applicable to mixed martial arts. I think every style under the sun has something to offer. And as you're saying, Iron Man will keep one capability and we'll get rid of another. But it's a puzzle, right? And who you're facing, you always have options to your arsenal. So it was very exciting. And moreover, I as a fan of this sport, and I speak as a fan, of course, I was impressed by the overall combination of it, because it is mixed martial arts, putting these two styles together. Now, in your approach, as far as the grappling aspect, you mentioned that you're a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu African champion. Tell us about your background in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. In fact, tell us who your coach is and where you train.
People are praising me, and I thank them from the bottom of my heart. Now, actually, no, from the whole of my heart. I truly do appreciate everything. The person that I have become, I would say I have no physical talent. The speed that you saw, the timing, the techniques, I've had to train it all. Again, it started with a vision of what I could become. I'm still working towards that. In fact, I'm working a lot harder towards that. There was no way I could have done it by myself. I needed someone to help guide me in the right direction. When I was in my taekwondo days years back, I had a teacher that not only taught me techniques, but that taught me how to think while doing taekwondo, which I still use now. In one of the interviews, I mentioned that I'm only Frankenstein's monster. I'm not the real deal here. The real deal is my coach, Steve Baze of SPG Cape Town. That's the man behind everything. The guy you do not see. That's how confident he is in his ability to teach. He was like, okay, son, you are ready. Go to Joburg and conquer. Bring back that gold medal. I'm gonna stay here and help the guys because there's more of them. Now, how many coaches do that to just send their student to the African championships against the best in Africa, and he just sits back? That means how fathers are. I'm gonna say fathers, not coaches. They mold their sons in their image. That's what he did to me. He taught me to think, and of course, gave me technique. That's the man that I feel like when I'm fighting, I'm not just fighting. I'm fighting and coaching myself using his mindset.
Fascinating. And it's interesting too, because it's a sign of confidence in you and your growth that he says, now go and compete there. You
see that, like I mentioned, the mind. I would say if I have one talent in this world, it's the ability to think, maybe. All humans do. The only difference with me is I accept mine. I acknowledge that I have the ability to learn. And I learned to have a mindset of my coach. Sorry, you can carry on.
Yeah, no, it's the topic of mindset is a fascinating one in all sports, and particularly in combat sports, as we're seeing more and more amateur and professional combat sports athletes talk about refining the mind, working on with sports psychologists, and beyond the physical, it's the mind, right? It's that confidence and that capability to push through very tough challenges that many folks will never experience. Many people don't have big visions and dreams of becoming champions, and if they do, it's a long road ahead, and it's a journey that comes with relentless challenges, right? From life, from your being in pain, because it's a painful sport. But it's interesting that your coach, had so much faith and confidence in you to say, go and get that championship. Now, you what is your belt rank in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Is it blue belt?
Yeah.
Well, why do you say it like that? What do you say it like? What's up?
Because it's really hard to get a belt in with my coach. It's like I've seen the guys that I have competed with. Some of them are purple belts with many stripes, and I'm still a blue belt. Now, it's not sandbagging, people. I know what you're thinking. It is not. It's just the standards. They're so strict, because the jiu-jitsu that we learn at the gym, it's not just our gym, it's international standard. So right. I'm confident I can bang with anyone on the. That sounds so wrong. I can fight with anyone on the ground.
Right. No, it's interesting too, because so there's, of course, there's sports jiu-jitsu, and then there's jiu-jitsu no-gi as it applies to mixed martial arts, and it's not the same thing, right? And I think having a blue belt, I can understand your desire to get a higher rank, of course. I think anyone.
No. I do not desire that.
Oh, okay.
I desire to get really good and be a blue belt and go up against black belts, and and the thing with SBG Jiu-Jitsu, what I love about it is I'm a blue belt in SBG Jiu-Jitsu. That's gi, where you are a blue belt.
Right.
But we do not learn different techniques that we say, this is for gi, this is for no gi, this is for self-defense, this is for MMA. No, it's just the same techniques, which is why we have world championships in gi, no gi, MMA, and MMA, not SPG Cape Town, but SPG International.
Right.
That's the trick with SPG, not trick, the system with SPG Jiu-Jitsu. It's not for MMA. It's for just everything based on Vale Tudo.
Very, very interesting, because so it's all encompassing. It's not where you stand or kind of customize it for no gi and MMA. So I mean, I suppose the formula is working, and the curriculum clearly, as you mentioned, has produced champions like yourself, and it's great to see that, because Africa has a thriving. Just recently they had the African Jiu-Jitsu Championship in Luanda, Angola, and I've interviewed some competitors who partook there, and the Jiu-Jitsu scene is growing all across Africa, be it through the JJIF or IBJJF, etc., and so on, because there are different federations. Now, I want to move on to another topic here, because in a lot of the commentary, in a lot of the storytelling in the lead up to the African Championship, during the championship, and after the championship, like you really captured people's attention due to your fighting style, your very positive energy, and just a happy person, as people can see here. And there was an interesting article that was written and I recommend people check it out on IMMAF on the website. The title reads Louis Mataya's Hardfought Journey to African Championship Gold. It's written by James Sweetnam. I recommend people read the article and check it out. You've got a quite the personal story and journey outside of martial arts and combat sports. It seems now that there's been many challenges and hardships and unfortunately tragedies along the way, even just prior to the African Championship. I don't want to put you on the spot and whatever you're comfortable with sharing with us. Tell us a little bit about your story, your upbringing, just so people can understand where you're coming from in terms of your life and what martial arts has done for you. I know it's a big question, so sorry.
No, it's okay. I am okay with it being told, so I will talk about it. It starts like where all stories start with my mom. Funny, I was speaking with my uncle just now that she was sent to war in the war of the liberation struggle in Zimbabwe. And when she came back, she was never the same. And when parents, they sorry.
It's okay.
They play a huge role in the development of kids. Thankfully, my mom gave birth to a super baby, which is I. If you were not aware, I had to reassure you who it is.
I think we're all aware.
So life could not give me all of it. Imagine if I was the way I am and born in America, where they have their own challenges, but I would assume life is not as it is here in Africa. So I was born where I was born. I went through what I went through, life through the challenges that it threw at me, and it wanted to test my strength of mind. And right now, everything that I'm going through, I'm not gonna lie to you, it hurts. I'll say it in front of the whole world. Some nights, especially since before the championships and even my whole life. No, I know many people do this, so I'm okay to say it. To just go to bed and they have to change your pillow and get a new one before sleeping because it's soaking in tears. That I would say is the summary of everything. But like I said, life could not give me all of it. It had to take away a little bit and add a bit of hurt in it. But that does not break me. That's why I said this. I can't say what happened, which I will if you want me to. But I wanted to give a conclusion and a summary that what life threw at me hurts, but it's nowhere near enough to break me.
Now, I really appreciate that. You sharing that. I know that this is very personal, and we don't need to go there. I think that summarizes, encapsulates everything right there. And as you mentioned, you have that willingness to persevere through all of these hurdles, and it's made you the person you are today. And I mean, you've just won you've won the African Championship, and you're generating quite a lot of potential for yourself, and you're believing in your vision. And I think anyone can truly respect that, because it seems like anyone who has success in this life has many hurdles, in their trajectory, in their journey towards their goals. People will come across many, and I'm not saying one is easier than the other, or everyone has its sort of unique path. And I get that, and I respect that. I want to move on from this topic. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. Now, it's interesting too, because there's been a lot of, one of the interesting things amongst many is the height and level of attention you've really galvanized and generated at the championship. As I mentioned earlier, even the commentators and the media were huge fans of your fighting style, your fighting spirit, and your story. You're referred to as the next big thing coming out of Africa in terms of, mixed martial arts competitors on the amateur side. And that's a big title, right? The next big thing. And, if anyone wants to see it, they got to believe it. And they can watch these fights and see, who you are as a fighter. I know you mentioned this earlier, but I'll ask you again. What is your vision and what motivates you to compete? And how far do you want to take this?
My motivation is just, it's simple to those who understand and feel things deeply. You know how everything is, as in everything has a purpose in life. Anything that you see is what it was created for. Trees, they grow. What's their purpose? Oxygen, lots of oxygen, medicine, everything. The water, it houses fish. My purpose in this life, my mission on this planet is to bring about change. I've had to spend lots of time by myself and not thinking, no, but listening. When you just listen, and then you just feel yourself, like feel your purpose come to you. Now, this listening is spending hours just doing things, and then you start to feel what you love doing more, and then you listen to the greats, the people that have done it, the greatest of all time in anything. They will always tell you that we kind of had more like a calling, something that we felt like we were born to do. Now, I'm not I'm not gonna say what I'm not, but I went to church a few years back, and the preacher that day said, "Men, we only need two things: food on the table and a nation to serve." And I lived in the Air Force of Zim back then with my sister, who brought me up. She wanted me to do something for my nation and get a job after high school. So she got a job for me in the Air Force of Zim. It's funny how this story, each time I think about it, it reminds me of Muhammad Ali. You know how when he was supposed to join the army and fight in Vietnam, and he said, "No, I want to," and he ended up bringing change in his area. Now, that's the same with me. My sister wanted me to join the Air Force of Zim. They also wanted me because they had to host a selection over a month where each week they would bring about a few hundreds, if not thousands of people and get them through the selection process, the running, the exams, the impromptu speeches, math, everything. Of the thousands of people, they would select very few, about maybe 20 a week, then move on to the next week. I tried out and I was among the top 10. And I could not get in because I just felt that I'm not so I sabotaged myself by writing info in there that were inaccurate. So
Wow.
this was the officers' selection, like one of the high-ranking people in the army. So I sabotaged the details there by writing information that was not true, which I knew they did not want. But again, I had to give my all in everything, the math, the English, the impromptu speeches, everything. And my favorite, the physical examination. We went through the obstacle courses, everything. And of course, they test your personality as well. So I was among the top 10, but I could not get in because of that. Now, I tried out for the second time because my sister insisted that I do it again. And when we did it, I got in. And when we're supposed to report for training, I told my sister, sis, please forgive me. I don't feel like I should be a soldier. Like, I don't feel like I should. I want to serve my country, but differently, in a different way, in a way that I am passionate about, because I know I can give more than. So at that time, things were not well at home. So I decided to leave home at 20. I was 19, 20 at the time. I think I was 19. So I decided to leave home. I left and I was homeless for a bit because, again, that I was coming out of school. I needed to get and start doing something. So it was either that or university, either the army or university, army or Air Force. But I did not feel like I should do that. So I had to leave home. And that's when I moved to South Africa and started doing this. Now, I've had to sacrifice a lot for my purpose. And my purpose, the reason why I do this, is because I want to give back to my country. Now, I'm not going to give him back money. I will give back differently, in the sense that we don't have a lot of role models in Zimbabwe. That's the honest truth. People who have done it and who have done it big, not just big in Africa, big in Zimbabwe, but big in the world. We need more of that. We need more of like a Superman, a being that is just that symbolizes hope, a symbol of hope for Zimbabwe. We need that. Now, I know by being that for Zimbabwe, I'm that for South Africa, I'm that for Zambia, for Malawi, the whole of Africa, and I am that for the world, all the countries in the world. That's my purpose.
Wow.
That's my purpose. And that is why I fight.
Louis, Mataya, that's incredible, man. That is an incredible vision, motivation, and thank you for sharing that. And even the story about you following your intuition and not pursuing a career in, as you described, in the military in Zimbabwe, and instead focusing on combat sports. That's incredible, man. What are your thoughts in terms of the level of quality of mixed martial arts in Africa? How do you measure that? What's your assessment on the level of quality and potential when it comes to amateur and professional mixed martial arts in Africa?
I'd say we we have potential. And that's the most important thing. Well, the most important building block. Now, I've seen guys, I won't mention names, but for respect's sake, I've seen guys that do really well here in Africa, in the local organizations, and they go overseas and they come short, like they don't quite. For people who are very strong, because of what we have to endure, to nothing here is given easy. So you have to work. And I've seen guys that are just physically very strong, mentally very tough, and yet they come short. For someone like me who always asks, how can I grow? How can I get better? I'd say for us Africans, with all our potential, we need experience. We know how to throw a rounders kick. We know how to throw a hard rounders kick. We know how to punch properly. We're very physically strong in terms of our wrestling, being able to pick people up and dump them on their heads. The only thing we need is exposure to what the other dudes are doing out there, over there. That's the only thing. So I'm not taking anything away from us. We've got all the raw materials, which is the classic story of Africa. We've got it. Even our economy, my country, Zimbabwe, we've got lots of diamond, gold, we've got fertile land. Are we using it to their greatest potential? Are we, in short, no, we're not. Same thing with us fighters. We've got a lot of potential, a lot of skill, actually. We just need to be exposed to other guys that are doing it better.
Very interesting. It leads well into this in the next question, because there's a lot of sports development that's going on all over the world and all over Africa, quite frankly, in terms of trying to establish, various sports, if it's judo, if it's jiu-jitsu, if it's freestyle wrestling, Greco-Roman wrestling, and of course, amateur mixed martial arts. When you speak of experience, right? When you speak of experience from fighting locally on African-based mixed martial arts promotions to going abroad, there's always going to be potentially a gap in the level of quality of fighters. In other words, as you mentioned, there's some folks just don't have that experience yet to make that transition. And it's interesting now because with the International Mixed Martial Arts Federation pushing for amateur development of the sport, it seems like you're going to have, in the next little while, right now, 2 to 4 years, you're going to have more and more African fighters gaining that experience at the amateur level, that key learning and development, and fighting there for who knows how long, and competing for championships prior to making that leap into the professional scene, which is huge, in terms of one's development as an athlete, their mindset, their ability to experiment and see what works for them. The question that I have for you is, what are your thoughts on IMMAF and their work and the work they're doing in developing amateur mixed martial arts in Africa?
I think they're doing an amazing job. Had it not been for them, I wouldn't have met you, our man, or or Skeletor.
Right.
I maybe would have gone pro, which I know I would have done well as a pro, because my mind always does that. It always forces me to upgrade and pokes me in the back or in the head and say, hey, dude, we need to grow. We're fighting pro now. I think IMMAF is doing a really good job. As in they're setting up not just for amateurs, but like you said, for future pros. They're creating a really good profile for the fighters that are coming up. Maino Firo, she was the not tough. It's EFC Ultimate Fighter winner.
Right.
She, you know her.
Yeah.
She went on to win the EFC Bantamweight title. From there, she went to fight for, was it Cage Warriors or Cage something? It was somewhere where she fought in a cage.
Mm-hmm.
She fought there. I have no idea where she fought. What am I supposed to say? So she fought, she won, she's been winning titles. And then she went on to, now she's in the UFC. She's won, 2 fights. That woman can fight. Now, her journey, she did not have to go 9-0 as a pro for her to go and do big things in the big leagues. She came through the IMMAF system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. She came through the IMMAF system, was just ragdolling everyone, and her name got out there very fast. Now, that's almost magical in the MMA world. You don't get that a lot. And the recent one, which I'm gonna say about IMMAF, was again me competing. It managed to help out my friend, brother, and Wayne, the one who had to travel from all the way to to South Africa to help me in the championships for 36 hours in a bus, and went through all those nightmares that he had to go through. They helped him to affiliate Zimbabwe with IMMAF. Now, that was the only reason why I competed, because IMMAF came through and they helped him in registering Zimbabwe. This is not just about me or him or IMMAF. It's about the many other people that are now going to be able to compete at the championships and possibly go through the route that Maino Firo went through and do big things. And it's not just Zimbabwe, it's Zambia as well, because it was recently affiliated, Mauritius, and many, many other African countries. So IMMAF is doing a brilliant job. Thank you to everyone, the president, the secretary general, everyone. Thank you. And also at the championships, we are, Wayne and I, because we were the two that were there for Zimbabwe, we ran out of money. And we were supposed to get the uniforms to compete with. The president of SA MMA and IMMAF, they sponsored me with the uniforms that I fought in. It was them. So you see, they do big things, and then they do the little things because it's run by people who care. And that's what's making it very successful.
It's very cool to hear that, that there's the support on all levels for the development of amateur mixed martial arts, for the quality and the potential of talent like yourself and the many others who will come up through the ranks from all across the continent. It's outstanding. I really appreciate your time, sir. I've got 2 more questions for you. What advice do you have to share with any fighter out there, someone who wants to pursue amateur mixed martial arts greatness? What advice would you give them in pursuing that goal?
Use your brain, people. Use your brain. Use your mind. The mind will tell you, oh my God, my coach is terrible. He knows nothing. your brain will tell you that, but most of the time you kind of stick to it. I've seen people who got really bad coaches, like they got lots of skill, but bad coaching. And then the skills that they learn, maybe they're good coaches, but they're not smart enough to get it. So my advice is use your mind, research. What are other people doing? What are they doing right? What am I doing wrong? Which is what most people don't tell themselves, not just in fighting, but in daily life. What am I doing wrong? How can I get better? And you can only do that if you use your mind. Now, how do you use your mind? Learn to use your mind. Go on YouTube, read up on the internet, how to use your mind. So fighters, use your brain. That's my advice to you.
Who would you say is the most influential mixed martial artist for you? Who's your favorite? Who do you watch carefully and draw inspiration from?
My hero worshipping days are done.
Wow. I love that answer. I love that answer. Tell us why. Tell us why. Because I used to obsess over fighters, like this fighter, that fighter, but I see they're human. So instead, I look at all the fighters and I see what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. Fighters from overseas, fighters from here, the big leagues, small leagues, amateurs, traditional martial artists, everything. And I try to draw a conclusion, as in, like I said, I remove and also at the hardest times in my life, I was there. So I'm my favorite fighter. That is some serious growth in terms of one's own evolution and the development, seeing themselves as the hero in their own journey, as they would say. That's fascinating. Now, last question for you. When's your next fight? Where can people follow you online and follow your journey? So you can follow everything on my Instagram handle, which is Porcupine Mataya. I'm thinking I was supposed to do a Muay Thai fight, Pro-Am. I couldn't find an opponent, so I'm gonna do... By the way, the guy said I was too ugly, so he did not want to fight me. Curse him. So the next one is probably gonna be a boxing fight. Okay. Because it's all preparations, and I'm gonna have a jiu-jitsu fight, which you can all find on my Instagram account handle, Porcupine Mataya. All these are in the next 2-3 months because I'm preparing for the IMMAF World Championships. I want to win a gold medal this year. I am going to win a gold medal at the IMMAF World Championships this year. That is why I'm competing different styles so I can upgrade. Because like I said, there were some major flaws that were exposed at the African Championships. So I'm going to win the World Championships, and that's why I'm competing in different styles. That's it, our man. Luis Mataya, thank you very much. We'll be watching and following carefully, and we'll definitely want to interview you again. Good luck, and thank you for sharing your story with us. We'll be watching and supporting. Have a wonderful day. Sorry, oh man, where can they watch it? Where can they watch this interview? Oh, it's going to be posted on YouTube. It'll be posted on a few YouTube accounts. Conversations with Garmamie on YouTube, as well as Combat Sports in Africa on YouTube. It'll be posted on Combat Sports in Africa, which is on Facebook, as well as Conversations with Garmamie on Facebook, as well as on Instagram. And I'll be tagging you on all of these video clips because I'm going to do... Make sure you tag Skeletor. I'm gonna see if he's if I can find Skeletor. We're speaking about Ken. I can't pronounce his name from Zambia. Ken Niaondo. So I'll be tagging Skeletor if I can find them. I'll be tagging everybody. So I want to get this video out to as many people as possible. And I'll be following. I'm looking forward to seeing your next fights, boxing, jiu-jitsu, and all that. Keep in touch, sir. And it was a pleasure to speak with you.
The pleasure was all mine. Thank you, our man.
Take care, brother. Peace.
Stay well.